Every time I take someone to Girona, they fall in love with this city. And there are plenty of reasons for that. The architecture is unique, the food delicious, the atmosphere is warm and relaxing, there are a lot of gardens, the rivers give a lot of life to the city, and you can get lost in little streets that were used to film some scenes of Game of Thrones. In this video, I am gonna walk you through the old quarter of Girona, and I am gonna explain all you need to know when visiting this city, including the itinerary, some fun facts and little stories, some of the Game of Thrones locations, and tips to make your experience even better. Coming from Barcelona, you can reach Girona by high-speed train, which takes only 30 minutes, or by regular train, which takes around an hour and a half. The train station is only a 10 minutes walk from the center of Girona, which is very convenient. In this video, it is Sunday, mid-April, and I gather with my group of friends in the train station in Girona, where we walk towards Plaza Catalunya, or Catalonia Square, the main gathering point for visitors and locals in Girona. From here, we can already have a glimpse of the beautiful old town of Girona, which will be our main focus of the day. There are 4 rivers crossing the city of Girona, but the star is the river Uñà, which divides the neighborhood of Mercadal with the charming old town in Girona, also known as Barri Vell in Catalan. And really, the view of the river with those colorful houses lined up is unique. So first things first, we start by crossing the first of the beautiful bridges of the Uñà River, called Pont de Pedra. And hey, I'm dropping these Catalan names because people from Girona are very Catalan, but if you know some Spanish, you can totally decode it. Here, for example, pont in Spanish is puente, which stands for bridge, and pedra in Spanish is piedra, which stands for stone. See? Catalan is easy peasy. After crossing the bridge, we get into the Rambla. Yes, Rambla is not only in Barcelona. Most of the Spanish cities and towns have a street called La Rambla, which refers to a 3-lined avenue or boulevard, but normally is one of the most bustling streets of the city. This is the case of Girona. La Rambla is so lively that we found 2 groups of street performers, including a big band surrounded by many people. It is always very nice to walk these streets, plus it has some nice terraces, shops and gelato places to keep you happy and entertained. But we cannot stay long because we have this cool bridge to check out. Doesn't it remind you of any well-known monument? Well, maybe it will help if I tell you the name of the designer of the bridge, Gustave Eiffel. Exactly the same architect that designed the Eiffel Tower around 10 years after this bridge. The name of this bridge is Pont de les Peixateries Velles, but it is commonly known as Eiffel Bridge or the most Instagrammable bridge in Girona. So, of course, we did the touristy thing of taking photos in the Eiffel Bridge with views of the Uñà River, the cathedral and the colorful houses. Very touristy, but honestly, one of the best shots you can take in Girona. Afterwards, we get a bit lost through the cute little alleys of the old town, and we bump into the tiniest square in Europe, literally, and probably in the world. It is called Plaza dels Raïms, which means Grapes Square, and it measures only 24 square meters, but it feels even less. If you go, make sure to look up to the tiny piece of sky surrounded by these old buildings and try to take a photo with your phone on the floor. As we keep walking, we keep seeing bakeries that sell the traditional pastry from Girona. It is called Shushu, and it is made from a dough that is twisted and fried until it becomes golden and crispy, and it is typically filled with crema catalana, a filling similar to custard flavored with lemon zest and cinnamon. But now you can find many other flavors depending on the bakery. For example, here they had raspberry, orange, chocolate and cream. However, I warn you, the shushu is gonna fill you up more than you think. Next, we stop in front of the Basilica of St. Felix, a historic church from the Middle Ages made in a Romanesque style. It is dedicated to St. Felix, the patron of Girona, but the funny story here belongs to another guy, St. Narcís, who was the bishop of Girona, and it is buried in this church. So let me tell you the story. Many years ago, the city of Girona was under siege by the French army. The situation was difficult, and the people of Girona were trapped within the city walls, defending their home. But the legend says that when the French soldiers finally broke into St. Felix, which was outside the walls of the city, a miracle happened. From the grave of Saint Narcisse, a lot of big flies came out and attacked the French soldiers in such a bad way that they had to run away. So now Saint Narcisse and the flies are considered the heroes and saviors of Girona. And in fact, if you pay attention, you'll see plenty of flies around the city. Right in front of St. Felix, we find ourselves under the As of the Lioness, literally. In Catalan, this sculpture is called Cul de la Lleona, which means As of the Lioness. And there's a Catalan saying that says, No tornaràs a Girona si no has besat el cul de la Lleona, which means you won't come back to Girona if you haven't kissed the As of the Lioness. And in fact, there used to be a little set of stairs to climb up to the As of the Lioness and kiss it, which used to be the tradition when visiting Girona. However, it seems that there was some incident recently and they had to remove the stairs, so I don't know who's gonna come back to Girona now. Anyway, we keep walking, and apart from being really beautiful, all this starts resembling something else. Maybe the season 6 of Game of Thrones, Arya's training with a faceless man in Bravos, or even some parts of King's Landing. Well, on the year 2015, the Game of Thrones crew arrived to Girona to film some parts of the 6th season. And it was a memorable time. Locals were able to participate as extra characters. There was a lot of secrecy and everybody was so excited, especially after the suspenseful ending of season 5. I won't spend much time in this video talking about the Game of Thrones locations because I will do another one specifically for that. But here's one of the locations they used to film the season, which is also the most iconic building of the city. It is the Cathedral of Girona. This cathedral was built from the 11th to the 18th century and it has the widest Gothic nave in the world. There are 90 stone steps to reach the entrance, which is perfect for a race. And in Game of Thrones, these steps were represented as the Great Sept of Baelor in King's Landing, where Jaime Lannister arrived with the Tyrell soldiers to stop the High Sparrow from forcing Queen Margaery to do the walk of shame. The views from the surrounding of the cathedral are stunning, and behind it there is a beautiful garden called Jardins de la Francesa, which means the garden of the French woman, because the former owner was the French woman Madame Mathieu. They are gorgeous, especially in spring, so it is also a great photo location. A fun fact about Madame Mathieu is that the legend says that the bishop invites her to dine and serves her the typical Catalan dish, the butifarra sausage, but the maid accidentally put sugar instead of salt and created the sweet version of the butifarra, which now is a typical food in the region called butifarra dolça. Next door we find another film location of Game of Thrones where Arya was begging when she was blind, and we can't help but replicating the scene. Walking up this street, we find the stairs to go up to the wall, this one though not related to Game of Thrones. The wall of Girona comes from the Roman city Gerunda, but was reconstructed in the medieval era around the 15th century. Nowadays, there are 3 kilometers of wall to walk by with different towers and access points which offer stunning panoramic views of the city. After walking through the wall, we feel hungry, so we head to Plaza Independencia, where at this time of the day, around 1:30 p.m., the restaurants, cafes and bars around the square are full of people enjoying vermouth, which is the aperitif drink we have before lunch, normally with olives and chips. We enjoy our vermouth, bravas, and lunch at Konig, which is a really affordable and quite good place to eat burgers, sandwiches, and some tapas and other dishes. I really recommend this place if you are not looking for anything fancy and you are really hungry like us. And for dessert, check out Rocambulesque, where they have the best artisanal ice creams with amazing toppings, top quality, and 100% local. Finally, in the afternoon, we walk a bit through the Jewish quarter and the university, which is beautiful and relaxing. And there are also some other Game of Thrones locations to check out if you're interested. One last thing I wanted to mention is that the best time to visit Girona is in spring, since it's blooming and full of life, and in autumn during the town festivities. However, there's a special period in May called Temps de Flors, when the town dresses up with millions of flowers and it's particularly gorgeous. I hope you enjoyed this video and it has inspired you to visit Girona soon, but before you go, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more guides and don't hesitate to leave a comment if you have any questions. Happy travels!